Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. It's nice and kind of warm out here. It's about, I think it's 53 degrees when I got out of the truck here a little bit ago. What we're working on today is some stairs, and then up here on the windows, you can see this is a log cabin, but the chinking wasn't put in, so we're going to go back up in here and put in some insulation and caulk over that, keep the drafts out. But got some steps in front of us right here. I've already pulled off the front row, and I got me good rhythm going, so I want to share with you guys what kind of flow I'm in right now. There's a new pressure treated 2x6x12 that will cut in half to fit in there. And this is my work area, keeping everything separate. So what we got going on is these steps. I was telling the homeowner the other day that these screws don't like to come out, and especially if they're rusted, the heads will break off like this one right here did. If I try screwing that head, it'll just keep coming out. I mean, it won't. I'll show you right here. And so you can see it's just spinning. It's not backing out or anything, but it's catching. So that head's broken off, so it likes to do that. So I expected that to happen. So what do you do when your boards just don't want to come out? Well, I don't want to ruin this stringer, because you can tell it's very weak at points. I mean, it's still a good stringer, but I don't want to rip that anymore. So if I take a crowbar and I go back in here and I try to do that, I mean, it might, if it's loose enough, if it's rotted enough underneath, but that's a good stringer, and I don't want to mess that up in any way. So instead, and I also don't want to mar up these stringers right here on the side by using a sawzall to cut into them. It just won't look good. And I also really like this dado style that they've got in the stairway here, the structural support. And I really like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, let's see, I already got that screw out. That one needs to come out right there. So I'm going to find where that screw is roughly, and I see that hole right there. So I'll follow the grain pattern. You can see the grain patterns running from left to right laterally there. And that works in our favor, because when I take this hammer and I throw it into the side, that wood's going to split right down through there, meet that screw, disconnect the screw from the board, and also it should also split all the way down the wood there. Knots are usually a weak spot. They're hard to deal with, but they're weak. See if I can get this on camera for y'all. Okay, you start to see it splitting up there a little bit. That screw just showed itself a little bit more. I'm gonna try to get that screw out, show you guys what my progress is here. Okay, so what happened was I hammered my crowbar in that away to really direct that focus right there, because that screw's head is broke off as well. So, and when I was jerking this way with it, the whole thing just come out. Right there. See there? So I got all the screws out as much as possible, and that's why that end right there came out pretty easily. I'll glue that one back on. But then I got one more row to go after this one right here, so I'll repeat that process with these. I think I got both those screws out over there. I think so. And then I'll go up one more row, and then we'll start cutting some new boards. Okay, so we've got all our wood out, and what I've done, let me put this measuring tape down for a minute, is I've just gone through and I ran my hand across. See right there, if I didn't show you guys this video, I would have hit that right there. But what I've done is run my hand across, my fingers inside of these dados right here and all up in there. So if I missed any screws or anything, these boards wouldn't hit them, but it's just a part of cleaning up and doing what's necessary to get these boards in there, so nothing's going to hinder you shoving these boards back in there whenever you go through and do it. So that'll be the next step after you get them boards out. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to throw this measuring tape from the left side over there, from the very back, and come over here and do the same thing over there. And what I get is I'm looking at about 68 3/4 tight. And what I'll do to give this thing some room and allowance to move is cut it an 1/8 inch shorter at 68 5/8 of an inch. And I'll take that measurement twice. I'll take it front to back, what you just saw right there, and then I'll take it again at the very front up there. And that one too measured the same thing. So I came over here to my wood, and I measured from the end up to right there, made me a little crow's foot, and I'll square that line. And I did the same thing from that end to, where's that? Oh yeah, right there. And I'll square that line across too. I'll give them pieces of cut and put them up in there. Also, when you're orienting your wood, notice how this one doesn't have any markings on it. It's really pretty side. When I flip it over, you can see that there's print on there, some down there too. So I chose this side again because it's the pretty side. There's no markings and no significant damage. I showed you guys this screw that I tried, or I just found out. So what you can do with this is I got a pair of, gosh, I don't know, these things are called pliers. You can get you a pair of vice grips. I actually really prefer vice grips because you can put them up top up here and just spin it all day long and it'll maintain that grip, so you don't have to crank down on this thing like an adjustable wrench or something like that, you know. But that's what I prefer. And then I got one other nail over here I've got to get. I'll probably get that with my fingers now. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So we got the pretty side in right there. We got it cut. I cut it at the 68 5/8 measurement, and I tell you what, you have to do that, because if you get it in there 3/4, ain't no room to play. So, you know, I kind of hear I'm out of breath there. I got to work out. So you can see I got about a 1/16 of an inch gap in there. Maybe you can see that, hopefully, but it's there. And I got the same thing on this end. That allows this thing to wiggle left and right. And what I did, putting this in there as a really tight fit, because that fits it like a glove, boys and girls. For instructional purposes only, I'm not going to perform this already because I got it in there and it's a lot of hammering I got to do, but you can see where I've been hammering this. And if you notice, that's marred that piece of wood up pretty good. All right, that was just a waste from cutting those two boards, but you can see there's not a lick of a hammer anywhere on that board right there. You know why? Because I used that thing right there and I just hammering it right there, bam, 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 and I put my hand over here. So I worked this side in about 2 inches, worked that side in about 2 inches. I hammered in the middle, and this side over here was the one that didn't really want to go in too well. So I centered my board right there. It kind of went in, but I just worked my block back and forth between these two sides so that it would it'd go in snugly and without breaking anything. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about this last board, and then I'm going to go ham on these two right here just so I can get this project finished. But this is pretty much one of the last few things. I might make some more videos or something like that later. But whenever you put decking boards in, I'm gonna tell you right now, these things are green, and what that means is they're still wet and they still need to dry out. I think it's what they might be at 16 to 18% humidity or something like that, and you really want them at about 10 or so. But over time, what I'm trying to say is you don't want there to be any gap here. Of course, there's going to be some because you can't get it perfect, but these things up tight to each other, because over time what happens is wood expands and contracts, and over time these two pieces are going to be rubbing together and expanding and contracting together, and after a while you'll see these boards are put tight together. You got about 1/4 of an inch gap in there, so, and that's okay. That's just what happens. But when you put these up tight to each other, eventually these boards will look like those boards right there, and that's what you really want. Anything else? If you can't, okay, let's see here. If you got a warp in the board or something, if it curves over that way or curves in this way, what you want to do is there's this thing called a board puller, and it's a real device. It's a tool. It's metal. And you get whatever side you want in first. So let's say this side right here, you want to get that one tight first. Go ahead and screw it in. Put you about a screw right there. And then with that board puller, I wish I had one to show you. You probably put it somewhere right in there and try to take that thing and draw it up in there. You know what? I shouldn't even be talking about that right now because I ain't got one to show you. Let's say you got a warp in the board going like that, right? It curves. What you can do is take one of these pieces of wood over here. You know, I'd like to get a long piece because that provides me more leverage. All right. Put right down there where my foot is, you'd put a screw so it could pivot. And then holding that thing tight, again, that board's curving over this way, you push that piece of wood and it's going to push against that screw where my foot is, and it's going to pull that board tight. It's going to pull that board tight up into there if you do it right. If not, give me a call. I'll come out there and do it for you. Alright guys, look here what I've got. See how it's tight down there? I'll show you an example of this method I was talking about. Now right in here you can see there's that gap, and it's I cannot push that in with my hand and do it all at once. So you see I've already started me a screw right there. So whenever I push this lever, see right here, got my hand up here, I got plenty of leverage. My fulcrum, aka my screw, is right there, and I've just drilled that right into the stringer there. And what I'll do is I'll position my camera over here so you guys can watch, and that board is going to pull straight over that way, and I'm going to screw it down in there while I got it pushed over. See, I push it up in there, push it, screw it. Stays put. Okay, another trick I'll show you. Why is that screw so far past here when that one's not? I'm gonna tell you, there's a nosing right here. So look up under there. See how far back my finger goes? It goes up about that first knuckle. So what you can do is, instead of using a tape measure every time to measure this and transfer that measurement back up here, what I do is I just stick my finger back up in there, put my thumb wherever the face of that board is, and that's how far I need to put that screw, or that's my reference point. So you can see my finger goes all the way up there. So I want to put that screw a little past my finger, and I angle it down. I angle it down that way, not too much. I angle it down that way, just so it'll hit that stringer, not bust the stringer out on the front, but also grab at the same time. Just a little bit of knowledge there for you. See, I did it right there and over there on that one. These over here are different though, because then you got to worry about there being no edge on this side. So that's the reason I come in on over here, is because I don't want this wood to split. Now a good thing about green wood is you can put these screws in and it doesn't have a tendency to split. As soon as this wood dries up, then you're looking at splitting conditions, and you don't want that. So whenever you're doing this, make sure you get the wood directly from the manufacturer. Come on out here and put it in. But with this one right here, I screw it down and then at an angle so it'll interact with this piece right here, and the rest of them I just put on line with that one. There you go. You see I just put them on line down through there, pretty much just feeding off the edge of that and angling them down in that way. So again, it'll hit this piece, but again, not blow out on the side over here. Also, just got some wood glue out, put that little thing back on so it's not broken like I told you I would. Woo! Alright guys, that's it. Right there. Right there you go. Look how pretty them boards are down yonder. Got everything cleaned up, so ain't no mess over there. Got all them boards cleaned up. Got all these boards cleaned up. I'll brush that up here in a little bit. But I'm happy with that, how that turned out. Now we're on to insulating these windows up here. I'm going to start cutting some strips, and then we're going to caulk right back over them with some cedar brown caulk. Yes, there is tinted caulk, so we ain't got to go back and paint. Praise the Lord. Y'all look at them pretty flowers. Don't mess up the flowers whenever you're working on stuff. Look, there's some more of them right there. Nice and comfortable. There's a pretty rose bush. Be kind to the flowers.